Today is October 25th, 2022. My name is Richard Perez. I am a Veterans Benefit Coach with the Kings County Library. This interview is part of the Veterans History Project. Can you please state your full name?
My name is Domingo C Cruz.
Well, Mr. Cruz, thank you for taking the time to do this interview and share your military service and journey of military service. We're going to go ahead and begin with starting off with the home and the family background. So, Mr. Cruz, where are you from?
So I was born in the Philippines in 1981. When I was 16, we came to the States. So the story behind that is that my uncle was in the United States Navy back in the late 50s. So in 1970, he did petition my dad and my whole the whole family, and then 11 years later, voila, we're in the United States, excited. So August of 1981. So I went to high school. Well, first one is in Montgomery High School in San Diego, about 3 months. Then after that, we went to Hawaii. We moved there a little bit, and attended the rest of my 10th grade in Wallace Ryder Farrington High School, which I did the Army Junior ROTC.
Oh.
And I was part of the rifle team at that time.
Oh, wow.
And then I spent my 10th grade there, and then about the next summer, 1982, went back to the mainland, and we settled down in Carson, California, where I went to Wilmington. There's a Finnish Banning High School, they call it, and I attended my 11th and 12th grade. And the rest is history. I was in the Navy Junior ROTC at that time.
Okay.
So, hey, what do you want to be? Join the Navy. So I went in, and I was going to talk about we're a family of immigrants. There were 6 of us that came, and again, we were excited to be in the United States, to be part of the enculturated as Americans.
Yes.
But so I joined the Navy in 1984, July 1984, to be exact, July 24, 25. But in high school, I joined the delayed entry program in 1983. So my parents had to sign up and say, all right, you're going.
Yep.
So
you were 17 then when you enlisted?
Yeah, yes. No, excuse me, 18, almost 18.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's the background on that.
Okay. So I know you mentioned your father petitioned you guys to come to America. Are your parents still with us?
So my parents, unfortunately they passed away, one of them in 2017.
Okay.
In Carson, California, and the same thing with my dad about 2021 January because of COVID.
Oh, my
Yeah,
condolences
so
for-
one of them was 78, one of them was 80 years old.
Oh.
So thanks to them, they were the driving force of us coming here in the United States. Imagine yourself, 6 kids, your wife and you, the dad, come to the States and make the life out of it.
Yeah, exactly. New to the country, new to the language and everything.
Oh yeah.
So what did your parents do for a living?
So when we came here, so my dad was a electronic assembler, building some. I think he was employed with one of the defense industry. Actually, building some of the parts of the tanks.
Oh, okay.
The Army. So, but my mom worked for the to the homes for the aged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's one of the orderlies. So she did that.
Well, that's nice.
So they live and then they live in Carson, and then at one point they went to Las Vegas. She works in the casino.
Okay.
But after a few years, they came back to Carson, California. I guess California is our state.
Right. So they want to come home where they
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I know you mentioned there were 6 of you. So your siblings. So you have 5 siblings then, I'm assuming?
There were 6 of us that, well, Actually, there were four siblings that we came here. One was left in the Philippines, but now she's in Canada, Calgary, Canada. She's a nurse. So we were young when we came here, of course, the four that came here. Myself, I have a sister that next to me, and then followed by another sister, and then the youngest one is a brother. Okay. So through the years until now, we attained the American dream. Usually the American dream is what? You get a house, family. Yes. So I went to the Navy. My second one went to the University of California, Los Angeles. Nice. She became a nurse. And then the other one joined the Navy. The third one, which is Rosemary. If I can call their name.
Yeah, you can call their names out. Yeah.
So Catherine is the one that nursed, went to UCLA. The other one, Rosemary, joined the Navy. He served 8 years. Okay. And then she now works with Customs Border and Patrol in Long Beach, CBP. Okay. And my youngest one, well, they can go to school too. The youngest one is the junior, Placido. He was doing clerical work, finance, and then went to AT&T and followed my dad's footsteps as an electronic guy. Oh, okay. So now he works with AT&T. So he went to high school. Got his degree also, and then worked for AT&T. So he's now he works in the Valley.
That's good.
Here. He moved here in 2014, and guess what? We followed them and moved here in 2015, November, when it was time for retirement.
All right. So what did you do before serving?
So before serving, I was a student, full-time student, and at the same time, because I was the oldest in the family, I was a breadwinner. So guess what? I had to go work after hours. And what I did is they call it a porter with a Toyota. Okay. But this is in Long Beach. So for me, after I get up at school, go home, walk to home, take about 3 buses. That's like 2-hour ride down to Long Beach up to get where I work at 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. That's my part-time. And, during that time, it's Toyota Marina. They gave me time to study during the night too, while I'm there, if it's not busy. Mm-hmm. And, porter means, you watch the new cars. Okay. You bring them and you put them together, because when they ship them from Japan, they put a coat on it so that it doesn't get rusty in the ocean. Mm-hmm. So there's a chemical that we have to use to take them off, and then you take off the brake protection pads. Mm-hmm. And then you put in the side view mirrors and all that. Oh. I was a young man then, so I can, you do that 7 days a week, because on Saturdays and Sundays, I'm there too during the day working. Uh-huh. So my parents had to pick them, during the weekday, they had to pick me up at 10 o'clock at night.
In the evening.
And yeah,
you had a full schedule.
And then you start the whole thing again. You get those times as an immigrant, you only get the low wage at that time, and started. But that did not deter us from, getting the American dream. Right. As long as work hard.
Exactly.
So that's what I did before I joined the Navy.
Well, it was a great story. Thank you for sharing that. And, let's go ahead and talk about your early days of service now. So what military branch of service did you serve in?
So as I mentioned, I went to the United States Navy. I picked it up because, my uncle was in the Navy. I had a lot of my uncles who were in the Navy. So back in the day, after World War II, so the story of the Philippines was that we were a Commonwealth of the United States after the Spanish-American Revolution, or Spanish-American War. We were colonized by the Spaniards. That's why my name is Domingo Cruz. It's in the Far East. Mm-hmm. So my Latin brothers and sisters, and I used to tell that in the when I was in the military. Hey, you know what? We're all related. thanks to the Spaniards.
That's right.
But yeah, so because of that, I had some relatives that joined the United States Navy from the Philippines at that time because we were recruiting. And I said, okay. And I was looking at the pictures then before when my uncle had come home, right? Oh, wow. Sailor around the world? Okay. So that's what I
Chose the Navy.
Yeah, showed the Navy. You know, because my dad's dream when he was in the Philippines was join the Navy. Guess what? He couldn't make the weight minimum.
Oh,
He was so thin that when he went to enlist in Subic Bay, they said, sorry, you're underweight. You cannot be one. So it looks like it's fulfilling my dad at the same time.
Exactly.
And then plus I was interested with the United States Navy anyhow at that time. I wanted to be at sea.
What year was that, Mr. Cruz?
Yeah, so that was I joined the Navy in there was this called delayed entry program at that time, where even though you're still in high school, you can sign up, and then when you retire, when you sign up in the Navy, that's where they calculate your retirement.
Yes.
So I had a 9-month leg done because I joined in I signed the papers in September 9, never forget, September 9, 1983. July 24, I went to boot camp, but they counted July 25 MEPS in Los Angeles at that time.
Okay. So talk about boot camp. So how was boot camp?
Oh, boot camp was I would say it was kind of, probably I knew what to expect. So it was fun. I say fun because when I was in the Navy Junior ROTC, we had a mini boot camp for like a week or two in San Diego. So I kind of know what to expect from the drill instructor. So it's one of those things. If they yell at you, just think about your mom, because your mom can yell at you and you just say, all right, my mom does. I mean, my mom yelled at me worse than you did. So,
that's right.
Yes, sir. You know, just.
Yeah. That was the real drill sergeant.
That was the drill sergeant. Was
that's
the mom.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
so,
we have company commanders. They call them for the Navy at that time. Yeah.
So since we're on the topic drill instructor, drill sergeant, or any other instructors, is there anything you want to talk about that experience with them, and anything personal or funny, or anything that you experienced with an instructor?
Well, you know, when you join the Navy, they try to get you in to be enculturated to the U.S. military. This time is the Navy. So, of course, you know, they will instill in you the honor, courage, commitment, of course, and then follow orders.
That's right.
Because that's maintaining the good order and discipline in the unit. It's a fighting unit. It doesn't matter what service you are. And guess what? I was a young man that went in, and then after boot camp, I went home and they said, George, you grow up. Really? I'm still the same Domingo? You know, I'm still on. Oh no, you talk different.
Right.
You respected. They teach you how to respect.
Right.
People in authority, but question respectfully. That's one of the things I've learned in the military.
Sure.
You know, we're not robots.
So your adjustment to military life, so was it good, or you want to talk about it?
Oh yeah, well, the adjustment for the military life, I kind of expect those because I've seen those. You know, looking at other people. You know, as I mentioned, I had some uncles. They kind of told me, hey, yeah, this is the Navy. It's not a cakewalk.
Right.
You're gonna have to do hard work.
Right.
Especially when you start from the bottom. But if you do a good job, they will keep promoting you, and don't be in trouble.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what did you do on your leave when you were done with boot camp?
What do we do? Well, went home. You know, you miss your family at that time. You can only write letters. That was the first time that I was gone a long time away from the family. So of course, you miss your parents, your siblings, home, your buddies that you left behind. But, you know, life has to go on.
That's right.
You got to serve. When I raised my hand at that time at MAPS, that means that the United States military's got me, and I'm here to serve. 31 and a half years later.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep.
So, Mr. Cruz, was there any specialized training that you did, or any additional training that you want to talk about that you did while you were in training?
In training,
Basic training or advanced training?
well, after boot camp, so they gave me what we call it in the specialty in the military. So I was a hospital corpsman.
Okay.
So they had to send me to A school to give you the military occupational specialty code, right? MOS, right?
Yes.
For the Army. But for the Navy, we call it the Navy enlisted classification. So anyway, they sent me as a hospital corpsman. So they sent me to like nine weeks of school to be like a licensed vocational nurse.
Man, that's awesome.
Isn't that, so that's one of the specialists. So then after that, I applied for, they call it a follow-on school, a C school, a more advanced school. Because in the hospital corpsman rating, you have they call it a quad 0. Strictly a corpsman. You can be an EMT, which is they did train me to be an EMT, emergency medical technician, and an emergency vehicle operator. But that's later on.
Okay.
But the follow-on specialist training was that to be a medical lab technician in Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio, Texas, yes.
March of 1985 to July 1985.
That's good.
Yeah, so they sent me there to the Army school, so we had to formation at 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
Go to school at 5:30. Yeah. And then after that, we got the Army PT.
That's right. It's a PT.
PT, man. Drill instructor, drill sergeant goes, go to lunch. Yeah. After that, we can do PT. Oh my, yes, sergeant.
Gotta make sure you're fit to fight. You're fit to fight, Corpsman.
You got that right.
So, where did you get stationed after basic training? What was your first duty station?
My first duty station was, they call it the Branch Medical Clinic, Mare Island. That's when we still have the Naval Shipyard in Mare Island, back in 1985. That was my first duty station, and I'll never forget the duty station because that's where I learned, of course, to be not a sailor yet because I wasn't on the ship yet, but we are sailors, right? We have a lot of a job. But I happen to be in the Navy medicine, so that's where my first duty station is. Okay. Branch Clinic, Mare Island. So that's where they trained me. I was already a lab tech, a lab technician, but they trained me to be an emergency medical technician and a ambulance driver. And at the same time, we were seeing patients in the acute care. Every 5 days, you get that duty, 24/7. No, not 24/7. 24 hours a day, every 5 days. Yeah. Every 5 days, you're on call while you're working during the day. And then, since we were only the medical clinic in the shipyard, and of course, they give you a badge because we have submarines there then. So you're gonna have to have a clearance to get into those. So anyway, that was my first duty station. And the reason why I said I will never forget that, because that's where I met my wife.
Your bride, that's all right.
For 35 years. Let me say 35.
Awesome.
35 years.
You got it on video, make sure you get it right.
I got it on video.
So to me, it sounded like you really enjoyed your first assignment.
Oh yes, because that's when I got promoted to, we call it non-commissioned officer, right?
That's right.
E4. That was the highest I was attaining there. Because I did a good job, I did all the job and all that. Did a lot of volunteering. So they picked me as a sailor of the quarter. Sailor of the quarter at one point. So I'm like, wow.
So outstanding.
I better do a good job.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about training, exercises, and deployment. So So what year or years did you deploy?
So when you say deploy, is that I call we have bases overseas, right?
Mhm.
So we are forward deployed. They
Mhm.
call us.
Yes, sir.
So after my duty station at Mare Island, California,
Mhm.
guess what? They said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna send you to Advanced Medical Lab Technician School." Oh, how long is that? Wow, 52 weeks or 54 weeks. I'm like, wow, 1 year of school? Well, where do I sign? All right, I'll sign up for 6 years. And oh, by the way, they gave me $20,000 bonus. Can't beat that with a stick.
No, you can't.
So yeah, I went to school for a year to be advanced medical lab tech because they're going to train you to be independent
Mhm.
at that time because they're sending me to an overseas facility. We call it a branch medical clinic.
Mhm.
They call it Robert M. Casey. I think he was a Marine in Vietnam clinic. Anyway, so we were in support of the Marines up there. We had unit deployments coming from Cherry Point. It's a Marine Corps Air Station. So Cherry Point, Yuma, Arizona, those squadrons that come over. So we were there for like 5 years, and that's what we had. My first two kids, they were born in Naval Hospital, Yokosuka, Japan.
Okay.
At that time, they had to fly the women up there. Only emergency. So that, and then if you want to fast forward, the only deployment that I went to that, because I didn't go to the desert, the first Desert Storm. It happened at that time I was still in Iwakuni, Japan, 1990s
Mhm.
until up to 1993 November, and then after that I came to Naval Hospital Lemoore. That's
Mhm.
why we get to know this place.
Mhm.
But when I was in Iwakuni, sorry, I'm going. The branch clinic there, they selected me as a sailor of the quarter, and after that I was a sailor of the year. I'm like, whoa, okay.
That is a great achievement.
It is a great.
That's not an easy achievement.
It is not. So I must have done
competing
well.
against your peers, you know.
Yeah. So that's where I made the second class petty officer and first class petty officer.
That's good.
Then they sent me to. Then after that, they sent me to Naval Hospital Lemoore. Here too, they made me a sailor of the quarter and a sailor of the year out of 200 something people. I'm like, whoa. And this is where I got promoted in 1993, 97, I was here. So they promoted me to a chief petty officer, which is a senior non-commissioned officer, E7, but we call him chief petty officer.
Yes, that's a big achievement.
And it is a big achievement, I guess. We don't call it. At those times, we were initiated.
Yeah.
You know,
Indoctrinated
at that time to be a chief petty officer, and because we're now a middle manager. And then after that, I went to Field Medical Service School in Camp Pendleton. That's where they trained me like a medic. It's a medic in the Army, but as a hospital corpsman, we had advanced training to be in the field, where they train you to be like a corpsman. And I'm proud to say that the hospital corpsman is the most decorated in the United States Navy as far as the specialty, because we've had numerous Medal of Honor since World War II, Korean, and Vietnam.
All right.
Because our job is to protect our Marine or the wounded,
Right.
and then we're in combat, so they train us to be that way.
Right.
To be in a Marine unit, grunt out there in the bushes.
All right.
You know, so that's one of the specialist training that we got. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is what we can do in a.
All right.
So that, and then I went to 3rd Force Service Support Group in Okinawa, Japan, and then they sent me to 3rd Medical Battalion. That's the Marine unit, part of a support group. They now call them Marine Logistic Group. But anyway, so there I was commissioned as a naval officer.
Wow. Great achievement.
While there, I've done exercises like one of them is a tandem thrust with the Australians, bilateral, and then other nations there too in Guam at that time. When I got the call, hey Chief, congratulations, you're going to be a Medical Service Corps officer now. of course, I had to go through all the application process, interview process. It's very competitive, but hey, they selected me, so here I made a medical service corps after 15 years as a enlisted man, and my naval officer as an ensign, 01E. I got sent to the Fleet Surgical Team 7 up there in 7th Fleet, and on board we have the SEAL Team 7 and all that. And then the Marines, 31st MU, Marine Expeditionary Unit. So one of our job is, as a surgical team, is to be ready surgical, because we're the so during combat we get our Marines to go out there, right? You have your battalion aid station. We were trained to be that battalion aid station when I went to school, and then went to the Marine unit. But we didn't go to combat. We were training at that time a lot. So on my capacity as naval officer, as a surgical team, I was the medical regulator also. So I was on the S3, the operation with the Marines, officers making decisions on where to send patients. And we did a lot of exercises in the Far East, exercises with the Australians, the Thai, Singaporeans. I don't think we did some in the Indonesian, the Philippines, Korean, the South Korea. So you can probably, I don't know if you can call it a deployment, but it's not. It's a humanitarian mission in one small country called East Timor. In 1999, East Timor, they had I think they had a revolution. They want to be independent as a country. But anyhow, so we were called in to support them. So we were there, just like Private Ryan. We were put in LCU, I think in the second day, and going to town. Yeah, that was the time when the Dili was still burning at that time, and then when the Australians went in there first, and then when the United States showed up with the ship out there, and then we got helicopters flying, and then I think the hostilities stopped.
All right. So
But
it sounds like you have an extensive training, technical training, institutional training, on-the-job training, hands-on training, and overseas assignments. I mean, overseas, you really were back and forth and overseas, which is a good thing. And speaking about overseas, how did you like your overseas assignments? Were they good? With, like, say, your personal time with your family, and did you enjoy those overseas assignments?
Oh yeah, we did. I mean, the initial one in Iwakuni from 1987. They only gave me three years. That's a minimum tour for with dependents. So because we like it so much, we extended another year and then another year. So we stayed for 5 years. If you're in a foreign country, you are the ambassador of the United States, right? So they put that in your head. Even though you're a young man, when you go step out of that gate, you represent the United States, and the locals will look at you and say, he's an American. So what we do there reflects on us as a country. So I was proud to do that a few times. If I can go on, yes. I'm talking to all the.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So after that stint there with Surgical Team 7, because we supported the Marines and also the SEAL team that was on board when they're doing the exercises or when they're doing operations. So East Timor, I would say the only thing that says, hey, I was in imminent danger. They give me like an imminent danger pay. I'm like, whoa, okay. Well, it was pretty much benign at that time, the hostilities. But there were some still hostilities going on when we went down there, because they had me wear Kevlar and all that stuff. So after that duty station, they sent me to a naval hospital, Okinawa, Japan. Back there, and then we get to support the OIE OEF first,
Mm-hmm.
because they made me the operating management department head at that time, where I'm responsible for deploying all our doctors, nurses, and corpsmen, and all the personnel that make sure they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have their training, they have their shots. Old name you when you deploy, you know, you get a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who's your next of kin and all that, your power of attorney.
Documentation.
Make sure they have the uniform on, all the gear.
Everything was aligned and
Yeah.
ready.
And then I'm proud that we were supporting there was an OEF Philippines at that time, when Abu Sayyaf was on the southern part of the Philippines. Yeah, we were involved in those operations.
So a lot of those operations, you know, will
Yeah.
provide a little bit of stress. You want to talk about any of some of the
Yeah.
stresses that are you know, related with the deployments or those operations that you
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah, well, when you're there, you know, I mean, at first it's stressful, and then after that, it's like, hey, we're here to support the country and also our military. Make sure, as far as me, is the medical support, because I was also the medical planner of we call it the amphibious ready group. You know, consists of where the helicopter carrier and then the Harriers, and then we have 2 small ships.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2,000 Marines on them all the time, 24/7. We have at least 2 Marine Expeditionary Unit and an amphibious ready group. We used to call them Expeditionary Strike Group. That's out there 24/7, floating in the ocean somewhere else in the world. At least 2 of them. So that when they say, "Where are my assets?" Those, yes.
They're ready.
I think when the Marines went to Afghanistan, like, and they
Right.
came from the amphibious ready group at that time.
Wow.
But
So how would you say that these experiences impacted your life?
well, you know, it taught me how to handle stress, because when you're out there, you know you're under stress, but you don't feel that because your adrenaline is up there.
Mm-hmm.
You really feel that when you're out of the military, when you retire or get out from the service. That's when, you know, everything, okay, drop your pack now there, sailor. That's when you realize, of course, you know, now that you ask about the impact, PTSD is real. So if some of our veterans are listening to this, I mean, you know, everybody goes through this at least some point, because you will have some reflection from what your service was.
All right. So tell me about some of your military friendships, your battle buddies.
Oh, wow! I've kept up with them. I've had friends since. Well, actually, one of my best friends is my brother-in-law. That's how I met my wife.
So your best friend, huh?
One of the best friends is my brother-in-law. I mean, you know, he and I, when we went to training in Fort Sam Houston, he and I in the same barracks, same room, for 3.5 March, April, May, June, July, 3.5 months, with other 4 dudes. Let me say, there were 5 of us in that one room barracks.
All right.
So that's how I met my wife.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because of him. And then and then we still have friends, retired people. We keep in touch. We have friends in all over the country. You name it: Virginia, Florida, here in Las Vegas, here in California. We keep in touch in the year. But there are 2 ones that I really keep in touch with.
Mm-hmm.
One in San Diego, and then one in Las Vegas, because that's where they retired at.
Right. Long lasting.
Oh yeah, long lasting. So it's like,
friendships. Yeah.
you know, when you visit them, it's like the old days.
Yeah.
When they come visit, it's like the old
There
days.
you go.
You know, and you learn from those people.
Oh yeah. And you have a support network that helps you too.
Oh yes.
You know, you have that bond and that friendship that you'll have for life
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
never lose. You know.
Well, what we kind of miss in the military is that when you're active duty, everybody's a family.
That's right.
Yeah, even when our second tour in Okinawa, we used to bring in single sailors and Marines to the house, because sometimes
They can't go home.
They cannot go home, long distance.
Yeah.
Come on in.
That's right.
Christmas.
That's right.
Thanksgiving.
There you go.
I mean, the camaraderie in the military, and then the support that we had. We have the Navy Marine Corps Relief. I'm sure you have the Army.
Yeah. The Army Emergency Relief.
Emergency Relief, and then the Air, all that, and then the Family Service Centers that really help. When we deploy, they have the ombudsman and also the support group that, make sure our families are left behind. But of course, it never fails. When you leave for deployment on a ship, 9 months, 6 months, because we did a lot of deployments also when I was on the ship. Mm-hmm. And we were home ported in Sasebo, Japan, by the way, the ships that I was on. So when you deploy, it never fails. When you're away, things break. How come they don't break when you're there, right?
Right.
I mean, so the experience of the separation made me and my wife and the kids gel more.
Yeah.
It's like you cannot get that bond because you're gone. Well, the love and relationship development, and when they see you, you're like,
yeah, they connect.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best feeling when you come in and they welcome you, especially when you're coming off deployment. Mm-hmm. The ship is pulling in. Mm-hmm. They're out there, all the signs, even
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Household 6 has to take care of the home front, and when you're coming home, she's so happy to see you, and the kids are happy. They embrace you, and it's a great feeling as a active duty service member deploying and coming home and having that love to come back to.
And they understand the service that we're in because at any time we could lose our life. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Training accident.
That's right.
You're being deployed right away. But
Mr. Cruz, we've talked about a lot of things, a lot of your experience in the U.S. Navy. And is there any other specific memories about your service that you would like to share of your service in the U.S. Navy?
Well, and then I can say that it was a good run. I could say that United States Navy is my service, but I had how many tours with the Marine Corps also, wearing their uniform. Mm-hmm. Proud to wear that uniform, but it says United States Navy on it.
So I'm sure you got a little bit of conversation with some Marines about that.
Yeah, well, it's a requirement when we get attached to the Marine Corps unit that we wear the uniform, but we are still the United States Navy on it. So I'm proud to say that serving on both sides was a great experience, to serve. If some of the young people that probably going to see this video is if you have time, even though you don't serve after high school, if you have time to go serve your country, go for it. It's a great feeling, even though you're served for 3, 4, 5 years or 31 and a half years like I did.
Yes, sir.
It's very, very fulfilling service to the United States, the people of America. I mean, that's why I say it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So your career is coming to an end, and so how was your readjustment to civilian life post-military?
Oh, that's a tough one. Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's you get that PTSD. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe a lot of people can cope to it. I was able to cope to it in a certain way, because I had the support of the family. Yeah, especially my wife, Tess, Marites, and my kids. Well, especially again the wife, because she knows me. I mean, we've been together for so many things. We spent 31 and a half years in the military, so she knows me. So when I had those episodes where, you feel like still in the active duty, right?
Right.
Sailor, you're not active duty anymore, so guess what?
Yes.
That, and I kid you not, there are times when the first 2 years, it's a habit, right? When you go into the base, get your ID ready to go.
Right.
start driving, you have to have your ID.
Right.
I did that a lot.
Right.
Where, oh, we're not going to the base. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I mean, the transition was a little difficult at first, but after that, you'll realize that, hey, you've done your time. You now have the young people serving, and they now have the watch. So and then plus, thank you, Kings County. They gave me a job right away.
And that's what I was going to transition into. So your occupation after your service was with Kings County?
Yeah, so I could say that whatever you learn in the service, and then transitioning to the USS, I call it United States Warship. In the USS, we call it USS civilian world. It really translates to what you can do in the outside. Those getting up on time, making up your bed, like in boot camp, getting up on time, making up your bed, do all your stuff. It's not gonna go away because that's part of your life, right? But like showing up to work 15 minutes early, it's natural. Right. Or showing up at 7:30. I had to readjust myself because I'm used to going to work early. Here's 8 to 5. So I had to go in early. I'm like, it's hard habit to break, right? So, and then as far as the skills, they hired me as an administrative analyst, basically an administrator type. And when you stay in the military, they teach you all those skills, the administrative skills that you have, your leadership skills, your people skills.
Right.
When you talk to people, you have that confidence when you talk to people because you know that you have served your country. It's the proudness. So every time I come to work, I have served the American people. Now I'm serving the Kings County people. Right. Because they instill in that in the military service about service
to country.
They go to God, country, right? And family, right?
Right.
So in that,
you continue to serve.
Yeah, continue to serve until now. I'll have 7 years in the county coming February 2nd.
Well, that's good. That's
2023. So, again, that's transition.
So your transition seemed to be pretty seamless.
Yeah, there was some rough times there, but in time.
Being able to obtain employment post-military was good.
Right.
Were you able to continue your education, or did you continue your education after your retirement or post-military?
I did not. If it's a formal, but that's one thing I was going to highlight to the young people that's thinking about coming into the military. Oh, that's one of the perks, because when I was active duty, I was able to obtain my associate's degree, because going to those specialized schools, you already have the credits, and then I only had to take some English and math classes. I get my associate's degree, and then guess what? I get to go get my bachelor's degree while active duty. So at that time, the military paid 75% of the tuition. You pay only 25% of the books. By the time I get out, the military pays 100% of your tuition.
Yes.
You just have to pay your books.
That's right.
Thank you for those senior enlisted and the officers that kicked my butt through the years. They
encourage you to continue.
Encouraged me to continue. And then, when I was in high school, my dad resonated. He said, one of the best advice that he did was, if you want to get ahead in life, make sure you go to school.
There you go.
That's basically what I did, because I got my master's degree from going to school after hours. And it's not easy. It takes time.
Yes.
It took me a long time.
Yes.
But, finagling,
right.
Because there are times when I had the duty.
Right.
I had to swap it out and say, can you take my duty so I can go to school?
Right.
And, oh, by the way, I'll take your duty on Saturday or
That's
Sunday.
Right.
It's one of those sacrifices and then that you have to do, and then with the support of the family at that time, because that's away from them. Because wait a minute, you deployed for a long time, and then now you're back, and then you go to school, and then they have the backing and say this is for the future. So guess what? It paid dividends because they picked me as a naval officer. One another thing that the military did to me, but I was honored to had a chance. They sent me to the United States Naval War College.
Nice.
In Rhode Island. I was getting paid at the same time while going to school. I'm like, and then after that, they gave me a master's degree.
Yeah.
I just had to make sure that I had to take electives in there.
Exactly.
So they gave me my second master's degree. So as far as education-wise, for a message for the young people that are thinking about the military, yeah, it's hard work, but it can be done.
There you go. So, Mr. Cruz, do you attend any reunions, or are you involved with any military organizations or ceremonies?
Sometimes I go to those reunions that we have with just from close friends. That's all from the units that I was in. But I do that, and then for military retirements, I go join those. I do go to those. At one point, I read the benediction, the invocation and benediction. I went to the retirement over in Naval Air Station Lemoore Way. That was in March this year.
Okay.
So I got to do all that stuff, and then I got to promote my daughters.
That's awesome.
So I strive to, but I'm a member of the lifetime member of the Military Officers Association of America, and also a lifetime member of the Disabled American Veterans, DAV.
All right, well, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Cruz, we're getting ready to close it out,
Yeah.
and so future generations will see this interview. What would you like them to know?
Oh, I would like them to know that serving your country is a very fulfilling decision that I made. You know, serving the United States, being in the military. So if you have the chance to do it, do it. It doesn't matter how old you are, but of course there's a limitation. I think it's 42 years old now. I think you can still serve as long as you serve until up to 62 years old. But so this is what it gave me: experience to be a better person, better man, a better family person. Because the military really instilled that into you. Family is there. It's not all about going out there win wars. Yeah, we do that. Proud of that as a part of the military. Give me education. You know, just like I mentioned earlier, one of the things that they did to me is go to the Naval War College. That was like blast experience. Getting paid at the same time. Why not? Let me see. Met my wife.
There you go.
35 years and a half now. I mean, going 36 years coming up. And then I have my 3 beautiful daughters. 2 of them are now also serving in the United States Navy. And then one of them deployed to Afghanistan, by the way. So I'm like, whoa, it's kind of different on the other side when you're the parent.
When you're the parent now,
yeah. When you're active duty, it doesn't matter. I'm serving.
That's your job. That's what
Yeah, so I think that's that, and then the skills that you learn from the outside, from the inside of the military, is really transferable to the outside world, and it depends how many years you serve or not.
Okay.
And again, so if you're, like for example, if you're working, if you want to take a break, go serve your country.
There you go.
Be patriotic.
There you go.
As an American.
There you go. Amen. So, Mr. Cruz, I know you wanted to share some photos. If you want to take the time this time to share some photos.
Oh, okay.
Of your family. I know you mentioned your 3 daughters, and they're also serving our country. And you can talk a little bit about those photos, and then we'll go from your photos to, you also got a little memento that you.
I don't know if you can see that. That's my family right now. I don't have my second son-in-law because they just got married.
Oh, okay. Newlywed.
A few weeks ago.
Well, congratulations. You got a new
Yeah. So, anyway, that's my wife, Tess. That's my youngest daughter. Well, she's now a a senior at Sierra Pacific High School in Hanford.
Okay.
That's my first daughter. The first daughter were born, two daughters, the active duty, they were born in Yokosuka, Japan, one of the parks overseas.
Yes.
And the last one was made in the United States, born in Bethesda, Maryland.
All right.
And then, so my first daughter, Navy ROTC. She's a nurse. And this one is a surface warfare officer.
Oh, wow.
And one of the perks again is that they just got done with their 2 years in school specialized, paid by the Navy.
That's right.
And then this one here just completed her specialized master's degree in Naval Postgrad School in Monterey.
That's awesome.
And of course that's me. That's when I was still active duty.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful
then,
family. Beautiful family.
yeah, so that's that. And of course, this was taken in Virginia Tech because my daughter, I would just commission my second daughter at that time.
Uh-huh.
And she was in Virginia Tech as a cadet for 5 years actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 2 years out of that is a Navy ROTC, but still a cadet
Yes.
at that time. But anyway, so I'm proud to show that
Carrying the torch. Yeah.
they carried the torch, and when I retired, as part of the ceremony is that somebody has to say, we have the watch. But that was a surprise for me. They made my two daughters over there, saluted me and said, one of them said, Lieutenant Commander Cruz, and then the other one said, Dad, and in unison they said, we got the watch. That's how I realized that, hey, my time as active duty, I am done.
It's coming
The
to a
young
close,
people
yeah.
and then and then you want me to share
Yes, I'll
that?
grab that for you. I'll grab your little.
Oh, thank you. Well, I can probably, I don't
There you
know.
go. I'll let you talk
It's-
about
it's
that.
A little
I love
show and tell. I don't know if you can, a little bit. So, my last duty station was the United States Marine Corps Pacific up in Hawaii. So they gave me a shadow box, my co-workers, you know, the Marine unit I was in.
Mm-hmm.
This flag, the United States flag, was flown in the fantail of the USS Arizona. I'm not in the fantail, but sorry, was flown in the USS Arizona for the whole day. And then I retired in the USS Missouri and the fantail on the back of it, so they presented this to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the U.S. flag. This is a standard. We call it a shadow box that all the personnel that's retiring from the United States Navy, and also people that goes out after they serve 4 or 5 years, we call it shadow box. So, and these are the trinkets that we supposedly collected at every travel that we have done on the ship or anywhere else. The trinkets. And then that's the story behind that. So anyway, it got me a rank because I went to the Navy Junior ROTC and also Army ROTC in high school. When I joined in, of course, I was an E1 in boot camp. After boot camp, they call that a delayed entry program.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe they still have that.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so I was in high school, actually, a senior high school, September 9, 1983 when I signed the papers. And anyway, from E1, E3 to 04, we call that as I went up to Chief Petty Officer as an enlisted. And then after that, they commissioned me from an ensign. I went to Lieutenant JG, Lieutenant to Lieutenant Commander. So that's my retirement, right? So I still have the idea, says Lieutenant Commander on it, and then when I go to the base, they still salute me. I'm like, okay.
There you go.
Return. And then these are my the medals that they've given me through the years. And here it listed all my duty stations.
That's
So
nice.
I don't know how many, several duty stations, and the name tags that I had that I saved, and it's some of each duty station. The name tag with just a Cruz on it is just when I started the boot camp.
Okay.
After boot camp, that's the name tag because you're not
Mm-hmm.
attached to a unit yet. So when you go to a unit and they have a name tag, so they have the logo on it.
Yeah, that's very unique.
Yeah, but I don't have the Marine Corps on it because no name tag with the logo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's that. And then I have the Chief of Naval Operation. When I was stationed at the Pentagon, gave me that. And then my very first challenge coin was a Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy when I was a Sailor of the Year at the Naval Hospital, Lemoore, back in 1995.
Wow.
So, and that has been my lucky charm since then. I always carried it with me until, well, time for retirement. I need to get that from you. Okay, put it in the shadow box. So that's my kind of show and tell.
It's a great
Yep.
display of your career
Yep.
and your journey of your military service with the
Yeah,
USA.
so they gave me, it says United States Navy Medical Service Corps, and then Lieutenant Commander Domingo Cruz from July 1984 to January 2016. Actually, the last day of my retirement
Mhm.
is my birthday, January 31.
Oh, wow.
And then I start retirement on
That was a
February.
good birthday present.
Oh, yes. Well, thank
Well,
you.
thank you for sharing that part.
Yeah, well, I
with,
appreciate it. Hopefully, young people will be able to watch this thing. And then,
So-
again, it's a,
So, Mr. Cruz, again,
Service.
we thank you for your service to our country. Most important, we thank you for taking the time to share your journey, your story. Future generations will see this. They'll definitely get a good perspective on military service. And again, we thank you.
you're welcome, and thanks for, doing this in Kings County for all the veterans. Again, thanks for the American people for the support of the military. We appreciate that. I do appreciate it when I was still active duty with the support from the American people. So with that,
This
appreciate
concludes
it.
our interview. Thank you.
Thank you.